And he looked at me, and I think he recognized, here's the fella that I signed the album earlier. And he looked at me, as I mentioned earlier, he said, "Is that all? Do you want anything else?" And I felt then and now that he knew something subconsciously, that he was looking into the eyes of the person that was going to kill him.
Greeting viewers. Joining us today is author Antonio Pagliarulo. Antonio's much anticipated book, The Evil Eye, The History, Mystery, and Magic of the Quiet Curse, will be released this year. Welcome, Antonio.
I have noticed something odd happening
As a
in
son of
Stanley
Italian
Kubrick's The
immigrants,
Shining.
was it always an inspiration that you would write about
True,
folk
there's
magic
plenty of
you
odd
grew
things
up
going
with
on in The
and
Shining,
around,
but
as
this
you
is
did with your
really
latest
weird.
book?
Yes, I think so, because I was always, writing was always.
I don't think anyone has ever noticed it before, because I cannot find anything about it. No article, no video, nothing.
His name is Mark David.
Well, it has been noticed before, but only once. I mean, one instance.
A house,
this
a home
one.
like that, and growing up, and knowing a lot of the stories, hearing a lot of the stories, seeing my grandmother, my grandfather doing certain things.
While in fact there are many, many more, as you
water
see.
and they detect
Yes, I'm talking about Jack Nicholson looking right
all
into
sort
the
of
camera.
understood that we were blessed to be in the tradition of magic and the
I'm not talking
magical
about
tradition,
when
so
he
to
looks at the camera
And so,
because
yeah,
he's talking to
write
someone
about
else.
It was always
This
something
type of shot
that
is
I'd wanted
called
to
the
do, and
subjective
especially
camera,
with
a
the Evil Eye,
technique that places
because
the
it's
audience
something
in the
that's
shoes
so,
of a
so
character.
prominent and prevalent still.
I'm
it's just
talking
gotten
about
more and
all
more
the
prevalent,
times in which
actually.
Jack Torrance
In your own
looks at the
words,
camera,
can you
but
describe
there's no one
what
to
the
look
evil
at.
eye is?
This thing happens throughout the
What
entire
is the
film.
evil eye?
This
Okay,
is
so
the
the
first
simple.
time.
Well, there's a simple answer,
And
and then
this is
there's
the last.
a not so simple
They are all
answer.
very
So
brief
the simple
moments,
answer
captured
is
by a
that
few frames
the
of
evil
film.
eye is
It's
a
basically
negative
just a
force,
glance.
curse that is
It can
transmitted
happen
through
while
a
the
glance
eyes
or a
move
look.
from one point
that
in
old
space
saying,
to another.
a single glance is
But
all it
usually
takes
it's
is
as
very
if
true
Jack is
about the evil
casting
eye.
a brief look at something
It's a negative
as
force
if he's
that is
speaking.
transmitted through a glance,
It is,
and it is generally,
quite a story.
not always, but it is generally transmitted.
Most of the times it's
or
so quick
it's
you
born,
can
I
easily
should
miss
say,
it.
of envy, of
This,
jealousy.
for example, lasts just one frame,
This goes back
while others
to
are
a lot of the
unabashedly
organs as far as it can
blatant.
go. It's an idea that someone's
And it only
envy, whether
happens
it's
with Jack
intentional or
Nicholson
unintentional,
or Jack Torrance, that
will
is. No
create
other actor
negative energy
and
for
no
you.
other
So,
character in the film
that's one
does
way
that.
to describe the evil eye. Okay?
Only Jack.
Sometimes
Though I'm
it
no
is
believer
unintentional.
that everything
Sometimes
in a
many
Stanley Kubrick
different
film happens
cultures
for a
believe
reason,
that someone will
that
give you a
everything is
compliment,
intentional.
and they can mean
It is
very
difficult to
much,
dismiss
but
this
perhaps they
detail
don't say,
as a
God
mistake.
bless you
There are
afterwards,
just too many.
and they
It cannot be
unintentionally sort of give you the evil eye.
Do you mind if I
And then
ask
there's
why
the
you do
other
that?
aspect of the evil eye.
Well,
it's
we
kind
know
of a
it
few
is
layers.
intentional.
The other aspect
In
of
this
it
scene
is
from the documentary Making The Shining, Kubrick
is
explicitly
very much
asks
something that
Nicholson
sort
to
of,
find a way to look
evil eye, or
down
you're
right
taking
where the
shade in
camera
that way.
is.
And growing up, that was very much a thing. You always stayed very quiet, whether it was about a personal achievement, whether it was about your parent getting a new job, or as a kid you got the new toy on the street.
Listen to me.
You didn't go and display that immediately
outta
because
here and I'll
a kid
forget
could
the
get jealous
whole
of you
damn
and give you the evil eye.
like it
So
never
the eye very much is something that is ingrained in all of us, because what we have is that feeling of envy. And when you have that feeling of envy, which is very universal. Everyone has experienced envy. Everyone has experienced jealousy. I think everyone has experienced the feeling of envy against them, or the feeling of jealousy against them. So you can boast about yourself. You might bring the evil eye out on you because you're tempting fate. But
why
when
is that?
somebody holds feelings of
When
resentment,
actors look
envy,
directly in the camera, it is
jealousy,
said that they
greed,
break the
this is where the
fourth
evil
wall.
eye comes out.
The
And you
phrase
might get
comes
a
from the
compliment
theater.
that's
It
sugar-coated.
means that the actors
Okay, that's not really
break
a
the
compliment,
imaginary
okay?
wall that separates
That can
them
give you
from
the
the
evil eye.
audience, thus
Or you
breaking
might get
the
someone
illusion
who's
of the
absolutely going
play's
to come
reality.
forward and be very, very frank with
In
you
films
about
it works in
who's
the
gonna
same way, and it breaks the viewer's so-called suspension of disbelief. You look at a work of fiction as if we are observing real events, until the actor
Tell
breaks
us what
such
to
illusion
expect within
by
the
looking
pages of your
directly at
upcoming
us.
book, The Evil Eye, The History, Mystery, and Magic of the Quiet
It's been
Curse?
done countless times in the history of cinema,
it does
often
do
to startling effect.
the history, mystery,
What do you
magic,
do when you
but
get stuck
more
on a movie
specifically,
line with a guy like this behind you?
The book takes
Why
a
can't I
look
give my
at
opinion?
the
This is a
evil
free
eye
country.
And the funny part of it is, Marshall McLuhan, you don't know anything about
from
Marshall
sort of
McLuhan. I happen
really
to have Mr.
more of a
McLuhan
global
right
lens,
here.
and it's not only about
here,
Malocchio
just let me
in the Italian sense.
I heard what you were saying.
It looks at the eye from
You know
various
nothing of my
perspectives.
work.
From
How you ever got to
where
teach
it
a course
is,
in anything is totally amazing.
Boy,
if life were only like this.
Where it is in cultural and ethnic
It is a
traditions.
powerful device. It
Some
makes
of the
us
history
realize
about
that the
it.
story
mystery of
is
the evil
being
eye
told
is
to
that
us.
You have this superstition, according to some
I should
people,
have never made
that
you
goes
president.
back so many thousands of years, and yet it
In a
has
split
remained.
second, we are no longer watching a
survived,
story,
and
we become
it
part
is
of
there. It is here. It has, sort of this unbroken chain throughout history.
Invariably,
in many
it is a
cultures.
very
You can trace
noticeable
it back.
effect,
What
and
is
it
the
always
mystery of
feels
that?
deliberate.
Right now,
We notice
especially in the
it.
past couple
We
of years,
recognize
we have
immediately
seen
and
even
without any
more
doubt
of a
that we are being
proliferation,
addressed by the
especially in
character.
popular culture, jewelry, evil eye, what we call evil eye jewelry.
That's the whole
In
point.
fact, when many people are thinking about the blue and white,
What Nicholson does
eye
in
with
The
bust
Shining
up,
is
and that's
instead
called
completely
Nazar.
different.
People
It
call it
does
evil eye
not feel
jewelry, but the
deliberate,
mystery
and
of
it
this,
may well escape our
why is it
perception.
that there were so
In
many
fact, as I said, I'm
but
not aware
at one
of
point,
anybody
certain
noticing it so
superstitions
far.
to
Moreover,
certain,
breaking the
groups of
fourth
people
wall
were
is
very
usually a
valid.
one-off device.
The evil
It
eye
is used once per
goes
play or
across
film, or very sparingly,
cultures, history,
and in very
time,
specific
and yet it has
moments.
survived.
It must have a meaning for it to
What's
work.
the mystery of that?
Again, what happens in The
book
Shining is different.
answers
Jack
very
Nicholson's
much
glances
that
at the
mystery,
camera
because
are everywhere
when
in the
you
film,
think
and
about
they
it, as
don't
I said
seem to
earlier,
mean much.
what it is born from, the evil eye is born from.
Let's go back to that
These are
glance that has
born
been
from
noticed
emotion.
by a few film
And,
critics.
as
Some
human
say
beings,
it's a
we all
Brechtian
have
effect
emotions. We've
to
all
expose the
experienced envy.
artifice
We've
of the
all
mise en
been on the
scène
receiving
and
end of
have
someone
the
else's
audience
envy.
reflect on the film
So,
medium.
that has never
Kubrick's
left.
films
It's
are
really a
not
facet of the
intellectual,
human condition
despite what the critics say.
to feel envious.
The truth
Sometimes
of
we
a
don't like
thing,
to admit it,
Kubrick
but
said,
everybody gets
is in the
envious or
feel
jealous
of it,
sometimes.
not in
And
the
yes,
think
we've
of
all
it.
been on the receiving end of that.
If this look at the camera
So
means
that
anything for me,
emotion,
it means that
that
we
thought
are not safe from
has
Jack's
never ever
fury.
left.
He knows where we
Humanity
are.
in general, I mean,
He
it's
may
just,
come for
it's
us
there
next.
all of the time. And so
But what
that
about the others?
is why I think this
Why
mystery
on earth is
of the
Jack
evil eye,
Torrance
it has
constantly
survived.
glancing
I write
at
about
us,
it in the book about
breaking the
religions.
fourth wall
Many
over
religions
and
will tell
over
you, Christianity,
and
that
over
will tell you
and
you
over.
don't really.
As
you
with
shouldn't
anything
believe
happening in a
superstitions.
work
You
of
shouldn't
art,
give
I don't
a lot
have
of
a
weight to these
definite
superstitions.
interpretation, nor I think
but
there should
people
be one. I can
by
offer
far and
mine,
large
but
really
I'd be
do
more than
give
happy
weight
to
to
hear
these
yours.
superstitions because it's
In
much
fact,
more of a
the reason why I
superstition.
have made
it's a
this
belief.
visual
For
essay
me,
is
at
to
the
see
heart of the
whether
book,
somebody
though,
has a
is
better
really the magic.
explanation,
It's
because this
it's
thing
learning
bugs me every
through
time I
various
watch the
methods.
film.
The
Why
symptoms
is
of the
that?
evil eye,
I keep
the
wondering.
signs. There are
I
differences
have some
between
ideas to
signs.
throw around.
A symptom is something
It is often
is there.
said
A sign
that
is
with The
something
Shining,
somebody
Kubrick
else
did
can
not
see.
simply make a
So,
genre picture, but a film that
happens when
plays
you
with
have
the
that
conventions of
spate
the
of
genre.
bad luck?
I agree.
That's just how
Perhaps
it
the
explains.
clearest way to show
You need
this
to
would
figure
be to
out
say
why,
that,
and
contrary
people do
to
want to
most
know why.
horror films, and
that's
especially
what the
haunted
magic is all
houses
about.
horror
It's
films,
in many
The
ways,
Shining
it's about
is very
protection,
bright.
it's about
The
healing,
Overlook
and
Hotel
it's about
is awash
doing
with
both of those
light.
things for yourself and for your
That
loved
there's an
ones.
intentional
And-
subversion of the scary dark corners trope of
improving your
horror
life.
films is
Heavy
clear
metal
if we consider how
performer
Halloran
Ronnie
is
James
about to
Dio
die
was famous
under
for
the only
throwing
lit
the horns.
chandelier.
This was done in love towards his audience, but time and time again, he had to explain to the media what
So
the
my
gesture
idea is that
was.
perhaps Kubrick used
Why do you
this
think the
unusually
public thought this
constant
was
and
devil
imperceptible
worshipping?
breaking
So
of the
if
fourth
I'm not
wall
mistaken, I
as
think in an
another way of
interview
challenging movie
did
conventions.
probably over a few interviews.
What
I
he
know
has
I
done
saw
here is
one
formally wrong.
where he
It
explained
goes
that he
against
grew up with his
dramaturgical
Italian
norms
grandmother.
and film grammar.
Used to,
How do you like it?
used to give the horns
Moreover,
to
I
sort
think
of
The
get
Shining
it out
is
of
an
the place where if
extreme
she was
film in many
suspecting
ways.
that
It's so
someone
over
was
the top
giving the
that it
evil eye,
often
he
places
said somewhere
itself
she would
between the
walk him,
scary
maybe to bring his
and the
grandfather lunch, if I
ridiculous.
recall correctly, and basically basically she would have her hands and she would do this.
So maybe
and
this is another over-the-top idea that Kubrick had, like, why don't we
he
break the
understood,
fourth
though,
wall,
when I read that
but we do it all the time.
Certainly not something he created.
This too has
that
a
it
startling
had its roots
effect.
in his grandmother,
It's
who was
odd.
Italian-American.
It's not supposed to
and
happen.
he took it.
Why does Jack do that?
I don't know specifically why he chose to
talking
use,
to
you know,
me?
what we call the
Looks like it
monocornuta.
does.
This is the horns here.
It's unsettling.
But
It is, as Freud
I
would
think,
put it,
well,
uncanny.
he did it, to my knowledge, because it was a
Of
symbol
course,
that
by the
resonated
end of
with
the
him.
film,
You know,
it's
he was
become
going back to
madness.
his childhood. It certainly probably made him feel safe. His grandmother probably said, "This is my, you know, this is what away Malocchio," and he took that. I think it's construed.
Does it mean that he's
was,
after
and it
me?
still is, I think, sometimes as sort of, you know, an evil, something demonic. For the same reasons, you know, that it
Does
has
he want to
been
hurt me?
It's
These
that
glances
symbol,
at the
you know,
camera
back
could be
when
a
you look
way
at
to subtly
deities,
perturb the
you know,
audience, one of the
hands
many
have
ways
horns,
that The
and,
Shining
you know,
actually
horns out of the
employs to
woods,
do
and all
that.
these deities, horns
Or here's another
were not
more
always
intriguing theory.
historically looked
Let's
at
flip
as
the
evil
perspective.
symbols at all.
Who is looking at Jack?
I think, you know, especially with Christianity, we see that
Ghosts. The ghosts
Christianity
of the Overlook
created
Hotel.
this image
It's
of,
them who are
of
watching.
Satan and of the devil.
Why would someone
Jack
want to
felt
cast
their
the
presence
evil eye
from the
onto
very
someone
beginning.
else?
You can protect yourself in many ways from casting the evil eye. To a lot of people,
So
it's counterintuitive.
the camera in The Shining must
and I
be,
talk about this in the
well,
book.
a ghost
the
itself.
whole point of casting the evil eye is because
But
if
wait
you
a
feel
minute,
threatened
if the
in a
subjective
situation,
cameras in The
okay,
Shining are the ghost's
and
point
you
of
know
view,
how to
does it mean that
use your
I
emotion,
am a
because
ghost
that's where
too?
you're going to get everything. You know, even when
Now
you do
I'm
rituals and
scared.
spells, we talk about the magical
In the end,
community,
I don't
we
know
talk about magic
exactly
in
what is
general.
going on
You know,
in The Shining,
your
but whatever the
emotions, what you're
reason
gonna
for
think
these
have a lot to
glances,
do
I
with
think they
stuff.
must surely
But
be one
what
of
you're going
Kubrick's
to do when you're
brilliant
casting the evil eye,
cinematic tricks.
you're drawing on your emotion, and you may need to do that in a situation where you feel threatened, where you feel unsafe, where you feel like, you know, your family, your kids, you might feel unsafe. Once you learn how to do it, I explain a few methods in the book. Once you learn how to work with the energy, your own energy, should never be taken lightly, and neither should casting the evil eye, but it is a form of protection for yourself. And sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you don't have the means on you, you know, to just, you could be at work, you could be in a parking lot, you could be walking outside, you could have a colleague, a friend, a coworker, anyone could be giving you a negative vibe, a bad vibe, make you feel threatened. When you know how to cast that evil eye on it, it becomes a form of defense.
Antonio's book, The Evil Eye, is now available for pre-order at Red Wheel Weiser, and after May 1st, you can purchase a copy at all fine booksellers. We wish to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. Until next time, thank you for watching Oculus Alchemy.